Because yes, isn't it after the recession?
Yes.
Because you've not been on the program for...
Because I was also going through recession.
Because we are going through recession.
Yeah.
Really? Is that
we are now out of recession.
We are now out of recession.
Yes.
Okay, let me put it that way. Let me not probe further. Let me not say what I want to say now.
Yes.
But welcome back. Though.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This loud conversation of restructuring, and I've said it many times on this show.
Yes.
You know, I just stayed away from it for a long time.
Yes.
But I've been hearing conversations. I've been observing what's been going on.
Yes.
I'm listening with rapt attention.
Yes.
I just decided to stay away from it in terms of, okay, Moneyline with Nancy, it's a business show and all of that. That calibrates the economy, but of course there is a thin line between politics and the economy.
Sure.
So calibrating all of this, especially with a committee that was set up, I think, by the APC, Kaduna State Governor as the chairman or so,
yes,
to collate ideas on restructuring. So I told myself, Nancy, you don't just need to stay aloof anymore, because Nigeria as an entity, what concerns us is that everyone goes out every morning to look for his or her daily bread.
That's true.
To get his or her pocket filled with money. So I should be concerned with it. And that's why I'm discussing this, because it's now a loud narrative.
That's true.
The first question is, to you, what is restructuring? Do you believe in restructuring? What is restructuring? Because I found out in my whole observation that restructuring means different things to different people.
Yes.
Both politicians and non-politicians are pushing whatever they want restructuring to be. So it's being a buzzword, but what is restructuring to you?
Well, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to the debate. Just like you said, it wasn't something that I wanted to get involved in the conversation.
Exactly, just me too.
But somehow I think it has gotten to a point that in order not for the general public to get it twisted, we need to redefine these things properly in a manner that people understands it. Restructuring is just like Brexit. No two people know what it means. So it's like everybody has a different view of what this restructuring is all about. But as a background, it has always been there. I can almost say with certain degree of confidence and certainty that there is actually nothing new in the entire conversation that has not been discussed in the past 2 decades. Literally, there is actually nothing new. If you look at it from the point of political restructuring, from the economic restructuring, from administrative restructuring, whatever mood and shape or definition you want to give it, I think all these things that we've been talking about, they've always been there. They are not new, but probably we have now gotten to a threshold that maybe certain things need to be looked at more critically than just talking and talking and talking. Yeah.
What part of Nigeria should be restructured? Okay, before I ask that question, yes.
Yes.
I don't mean, when I mean part,
yes,
I may not mean region.
So you are talking about the political restructuring now?
Yes, I'm talking about what part of Nigeria should be fixed, because if you're looking at the word restructuring,
yes,
that means there was a structure before.
Yes.
And the structure is defective.
Yes.
So we restructure. Yeah. Whether the house is falling, or it has a weak foundation, or the bricks are getting broken, you get new bricks to put on it, or is it that you take away the entire foundation, you definitely bulldoze the house, set up a new foundation, or is it that the house needs refurbishing, or the paintings on the house looking old, you need to repaint? That's what I mean.
Yeah, let me put it this way. By 1914, Nigeria was put together. And by 1960, Nigeria was negotiated, the 3 regions. Now that ushered in the independence. And then by 67, 7 years into independence, there was war. Now, what precipitated all this noise you hear? It's like people are not tracking history. Is that immediately after the war, rightly or wrongly, or I must align with them because my father was the Second World War veteran and also the Biafran War veteran. Now all of them of that generation that fought the war, that saw what led to the war, they are the people in that school of thought that believes that, especially the military mindset, that, hey, Nigeria has gone through this, almost 2 million people lost their lives. We are not going to do anything again that will make us go that path. And therefore, the centralization of everything, powers, everything, the regions, everything became now consolidated. The military people have that mindset, especially all of them that participated actively in the war. And you can't blame them because it is something that they don't want it to repeat itself. But the question is, after 50 years, one would have said, okay, we've moved away from all those patterns. And after 17 years of democracy, the blame has always been, if you look at the conversation, the 1999 Constitution is defective, is this and that. 17 years of democracy. Is it not enough to change the Constitution? Is it not enough to address all these issues democratically? So again, if you look at where to place the blame, the mindset of the different groups, from the military, the way they think, to the people, the post-war generation, which means literally all the people that were born after the war. Now, our own generation that didn't trust the war, the narratives have been handed down, and probably we are not so attached to why there shouldn't be a repeat, like the generation that fought the war. So the stories that, so depending on who you are talking to, these things are that deep that the root of this conversation is from there, and we need to understand why pockets of different groups of Nigerians view these things differently.
On which side are you? Do you want Nigeria to be restructured? Do you want Nigeria to be restructured, yes or no?
Nigeria needs to be restructured.
On how?
There is over-centralization of power, rightly because the military, as at that time for 29 years, felt that that's the right thing to do. They want to keep Nigeria one. And anything that will give the regions or the state some semblance of autonomy that will lead to taking decisions that will repeat itself, like what has happened before. They didn't want to follow that path. So the over-centralization from Iransi to all to Abdul Salam is not because of they just want power at the center. These are people that actively participated in the war. They were actors. They were commanders in one place or the other. So they have that mindset, and Nigerians need to appreciate and understand that. And they've been in power for 29 years. So that's one part. Then the other part now is that if they are out of power, we are now in a civilian regime. Civilians, we are here for 17 years. The constitutions have been centralized, from revenue to administrative structures, to so many issues that ordinarily the center is overburdened with. Yet in 17 years, we have not been able to unbundle it. We just allow the thing to steam up, because it's the responsibility of this democratic government since 1999. It's our own responsibility to change the constitution to address those issues that now culminated and bottled up to all this noise you hear about.
Do you think that the noise, as it were, just like you said, or this loud narrative on restructuring is coming out of the fact that a lot of people say that they've been marginalized? Not even just being marginalized politically, but economic marginalization. In the sense that states, for example, that's one, state, for example, that produce resources and all of that, but the center controls all of it. If you're looking at revenue allocation, the federal government takes 52%, local government and state government share the remaining. That's one. Economic marginalization in the sense that even the states, as it were,
yes,
that indigenes or citizens of the state, wherever you are not even part of the larger economic conversation in that state. What do you think?
yes, I agree with you that people feel excluded. People feel that resources are not fairly allocated, is skewed towards the center is overloaded. I think these are all legitimate concerns that are out there. What bothers me is that nobody wants to take responsibility.
Responsibility to?
Responsibility to address them.
Who do you think should take the responsibility?
First,
to address the restructuring
issue. Yeah.
Who do you think should
the responsibility lies with the elite. The responsibility lies with the political class. And why did we fight for democracy? We fight for democracy so that we strengthen those things. Let me put it very clear. If the National Assembly people are listening, the symbol of democracy is the state houses of assembly and the National Assembly. Because in the 29 years we have had the military era, if you remember very well, and that's why we are not even used to the National Assembly, and the people will even tell you, let's scrap them. But the reality about it is that that's the symbol of democracy.
No, are people saying let's scrap them? People are saying let's have just a unicameral assembly.
They are the most important arm in the sense that that is the symbol of democracy. And one would have assumed, one would have imagined that in these 17 years, would have moved so fast that those things from all the various constitutional conferences that has happened, all these agitations from the Niger Delta, agitation now by the IPOP, several pockets around that are talking about we are marginalized, we need to be heard, the Middle Belt, all those pockets that genuinely are saying that we have not had our own fair share of the Nigeria that we dream of. Now, it should have been one of the deliveries of this democracy to say, okay, this 1999 constitution is defective politically because the structure that we have now, probably people are saying we should have a different structure. Let's talk about it. The revenue sharing formula that we have now is skewed, and therefore it should be addressed. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the things like the land reforms. Things that that are centralized.
And those are economic concerns.
Yes, that are economic concerns, yeah. But they have cross-cutting paths with also political issues. We should come out and frontally address them without playing the ostrich.
And you said that the elites should
take responsibility.
Then who are the elites now?
The elite first, like I said, the political class. Every person that has contested election and won between 1999 to now, they are part of the problem.
Now, restructuring conversation.
Yes.
Is it the same thing? Does it mean the same thing to the elites and the person on the street? Because it's like there are two different narratives.
Yes.
Because when we're talking about restructuring, perhaps people on the street or people that feel that they are marginalized are talking about secession and all of that.
Yeah.
So the conversation, the restructuring conversation means something else to the elite. It means something else to the man on the street.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and why the agitation now has turned, and so, you know, some people, when you say restructuring, they mean economic restructuring, like resource control, like the Land Use Act, like all other things that makes the states to be more economically free, the federating units. Now, for some people, the agitation has been skewed towards that. Some people are saying it's much more of political, restructure the local governments. Some of the regions, they have more local government than the others. Let's have a balance. So there is also the political side on the other side that you need to look at. You need to look at the electoral, how we conduct elections. You need to look at all the various things that culminated to political reforms in one bunch. So there are some people that their own concern is that one. They are not seeing the economic side, which of course the two are twin brothers. They are linked together. Then there are some in the technocrats' point of view that have restricted their own restructuring to say, okay, let's structure the education system. Let's just the pockets of reforms that have been happening around telecom, around power, around. So some people are hanging on to that. They are not looking at whether you create more states, it's not their problem. Whether you create more local government, or you give autonomy, or you don't give autonomy, that is not their concern. Their concern is the pension reform working? Is the power reform working? Is now all these pockets of whichever angle or lens you look at it, they link together. That the political class should take responsibility to say, for 50 years, 57 years counting, we've been revolving around the same thing. Let us come up even with a timetable, catalog this thing to say, we have 30 issues to resolve in this constitution. And these 30 issues, we